Hey, welcome back everybody. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to trade the market properly using order flow and how to read the market like a story. Now, believe me, what I'm about to show you is really going to be game changing for your trading. So let's hop over to the chart really quick. So here's the chart. So this is today's New York Open on the S&P 500, the ES futures, right? Now, I actually traded this market live in, well, today's live stream. You would have seen me trade this market and break it down, but I'm going to go over the kind of, the things we saw today and how to read the market correctly. So we're going to start at New York Open, which is this candle right here. This is 9:30 Eastern. This is the New York Open candle. And we're going to start we always start at the open in terms of reading the order flow, right? So first things first, bunch of buyers came in. There was a big struggle between buyers and sellers in real time. And you can see this in the live stream. There was a lot of buyers. It pushed down. Sellers came in. Buyers came back in. And there's still struggle. We're going up and down. We're going up and down. But we are kind of drifting up a little bit, as you can see. But all in all, it was a very kind of choppy battle. At this moment in time, it was pretty much anyone's game, right? Sellers could have taken over. If they came in really aggressive, they could have pushed this market down. Buyers were fighting the sellers. Buyers could still push this market up if they keep adding more aggression as well. So it was kind of anyone's game. There was no real clarity in that moment. Okay, and we don't want to be trading when there's really no clarity in the market, right? But we finally started getting a little bit of clarity, but we still don't want to be jumping in the trade. And we get the clarity when we started seeing the volume distribution, okay, be a bit bullish. So notice how most of the sellers started appearing at the bottom of the candles, right? And then you had bigger buyers, so heavier buyers trading above all those sellers, right? That is the first time we see that kind of bullish volume distribution, right? All the sellers are down here and majority of buyers are, higher up, okay? So now we know, right, buyers have kind of, won the battle in this area, right? And still, sellers remain at the bottom, buyers keep coming in strong, and you can see that all the sellers are always at the bottom, right? And then finally, we get like this big, aggressive push up. Now, this is where we start looking, okay? Now, I want to kind of just point out a little thing here. I want you to focus on this cluster of buyers, right? Everyone before that is pretty much, these are real buyers coming in, fresh buyers trying to get the market up, and they're doing well, right? Okay, they're pushing the market up. Same with these guys, right? They're all pushing the market up, but these people are a bit different. And how do we know that, right? Well, if we put a line roughly, from here, just in that kind of area, right? And we try to find, is there any significant area where are people taking profit? And as you can see, that kind of matches up with these highs here, especially that high as it got retested. If you were in a buy, if you were someone who bought on New York Open back down here, there's a good chance you probably, would set your take profit. There's obviously going to be a lot of take profits right at these highs here. But there's also going to be take profits, at these smaller areas here, these highs. And another one there, there's a good kind of level for potentially people taking profits. Any of these peaks, right? And there's another one there, right? So these are all areas where you expect buyers to take profit, right? And we see that happen, okay? We see that spike in volume. Those are buyers taking profit. Now, this is the delta footprint, so it only shows you the difference between the buyers and sellers, right, in contracts, right? Now, you might be asking, but Sam, wait a second. If they're buyers, shouldn't their take profit look like sell orders because they're exiting the market? And this is where a lot of people get confused of what they're actually seeing. So I'm going to head over to the depth of market really quick, and I'm going to show you a picture on the depth of market. So here's the depth of market, right? I'm sure most of you know, if you've ever traded, you know what the depth of market is. This is a picture of it. Makes it really easy just to see. On the right-hand side, we got sell limits, right? And on the left-hand side, we got all the buy limits. These are all pending orders. They're not executed yet, right? It's just the intention to buy and the intention to sell, right? When you enter a buy, right? So say you enter a buy at 5827.5. Imagine you just hit the buy button for one contract on that level. Your buy order, your market order, gets matched up with a sell limit. Okay, right here. So there's 11 available on that level. So now there would be 10 available, right? Now you're in the market right here. Okay. Now say the market drifts up and goes up, and you've got your take profit set at 583175 right here, and the market gets here, and that's your take profit, and it hits. What is your take profit exactly? What kind of order is your take profit? Well, your take profit is a sell limit. That is your take profit. One of these 23, that's actually you, right? You're one of them, your take profit, if it's just one contract, right? So as the market goes up and it gets executed, your take profit gets matched up with any aggressive buyer, and therefore on the footprint it shows as a buy. Okay, so that's why buyers taking profit show up as buyers, and sellers taking profit, it's no different. Sellers will show up as sellers because their take profit will be a buy limit. It gets executed, matched up with the next available sell market order, and therefore shows up as a sell. I hope that kind of makes sense, right? So buyers taking profit look like buyers, sellers taking profit look like sellers. Now, what if your stops get hit? So imagine you enter now here as a buy, you take out one of these sell limits. There's now 10 here. You're in the market, and you set your stop loss, at 5826, right? And the market starts drifting down to 5826, and it hits your stop. What happens there? Well, your stop isn't a buy limit, right? Your stop isn't a buy limit. That wouldn't make any sense, right? Your stop is a sell stop, and that doesn't appear in the book. You cannot see stop losses in the book, right? They just don't appear, right? Your order is actually a sell stop, right? Your stop loss, and that gets matched up with any available. Gets converted into a market order and gets matched up with any available buy limit, right? So it gets matched up with one of these guys, and since your sell stop is an aggressive order, it's a market order, it will appear as a sell on the footprint, right? So your buy order, when you buy and you get stopped out, it will look like a sell in the footprint. And if you sell and get stopped out, it will look like a buy in the footprint, okay? And lastly, the only other way you can get out the market is if you actually click exit, right? Your stop doesn't get hit, your take profit doesn't get hit, but you physically click the exit button. That will be also a market order, and therefore it will look, if you're in a buy position and you exit, it will look like a sell, and if you're in a sell position, you exit, it will look like a buy. So I hope that kind of makes sense, because this is really important stuff. You need to know what you're looking at in the footprint, right? Because all these orders, they're not all new, fresh buyers coming in. A lot of these people are, stops getting hit, take profits getting hit, people exiting, and you've got to be able to read that in order to understand the story, right? So we identified a previous high. The volume started spiking up. We know, we can confidently say a lot of these orders, maybe not all of them, but a good chunk of these orders are going to be take profits from some of these buyers. Could be these guys, who knows, right? But any of those buyers that bought, right, and rode this move up, their take profits have just been cleared, right? So they're out the market now. Not every buyer, but a lot of buyers are out the market. A good chunk have got out the market, right? And then we see this kind of little bit of aggressive selling coming in, right? Okay. Now, imagine someone is trailing. It also makes sense, right? People trail their orders, right? Trail their stops, okay, as price moves up. People were trailing. We had a sudden move down. A lot of people got trailed out the market as well. A lot of buyers got stopped out in profit. Makes sense again, right? But this is where it starts getting interesting. Now, this is where you really want to take notice. It's these people here you want to take notice of. Because these people coming in, they're not take profits. They're not buyers taking profit, right? Because if they were buyers taking profit, they would have already been triggered here because we already moved into that area, right? They would have already got out the market here. These are now fresh buyers. They're real legitimate fresh buyers and big institutional buyers trying to buy the continuation, right, in order to push this market up. These people are now vulnerable in the market. Very important to understand. When someone's got real skin in the game, real money in the game, they become vulnerable, right? These are vulnerable people because if it goes against them, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to have to get out the market. And that's the only time you can guarantee some kind of action in the market, right? When someone is forced to get out the market, when they're getting squeezed out. You can't force people to jump in, right? Those buyers jumping in to buy, no one could force them to buy, right? That was their decision to buy for whatever reason. But when someone's in the market and it's going against them, they are forced to exit. They cannot hold it, right? Risk management, all that good stuff, right? They have to get out the market. So these people are real legitimate buyers, okay? Now, same with these sellers, right? These aren't sellers getting stopped out. Buyers getting stopped out, right? Because they would have already got stopped out here, people trailing, right? So these are legitimate sellers now coming in. So really, the only thing we need to focus on is we identified these are real buyers, fresh buyers, and these are fresh sellers. The battle is here. Whoever wins in this area wins the short-term movement. And I actually took this trade live, right? I actually shorted here live, right? And you can see all this volume come into the market, right? As we start pushing down, that's a lot of these buyers getting stopped out. Boom, 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 at break even. So we need to have fresh new sellers coming into the market to keep pushing this market down, right? And I don't think it really happened, unfortunately. Buyers started coming back in. Sellers, there was a battle again, and we got a bit of sideways movement, and then eventually... again, look, you can read this story. I actually got out the market like around here. I jumped in the live. I jumped in around here and I got out, I believe, like around here somewhere, right? So I made a little bit of a move. But I could see it was failing. Unfortunately, the sellers weren't coming in, really. No new fresh sellers were coming in. These people were just buyers getting stopped out. So it wasn't real sell pressure, right? But these were real buyers, again. Fresh new buyers came in. They're trying to, push the market up, right? We know these are fresh sellers coming in, again, trying to get the market down, right? Fresh new buyers, fresh new sellers, fresh new buyers, fresh new buyers, fresh new sellers, right? Because these are all within areas we've already traded into, right? So they have to be all fresh, right? They can't be take profits. They can't be stops, right? Because otherwise they would have been triggered originally, right? All the way down here. So these are, people actually trying to get in. This is the real battle, all these people, right? And you can see they're kind of, fighting each other. Nothing really happens. And then we get this sudden dip down, right? And look at where do you think a lot of these buyers who entered, where their stops are going to be? Their stops are going to be below this little low here, right? On this little range. And you can see them all getting stopped out, right? And then buyers come in really aggressively again and actually push this market up. And where do you think all the sellers who came in, right, on this range, where their stops are going to be? Well, it's going to be above the range here as well. And look at the volume spike up on the buy side. That's all the sellers getting stopped out. So in this area, both buyers and sellers got completely annihilated. No one won, right? The sellers got stopped out. The buyers got stopped out and the sellers got stopped out. Reset. Right? The market's going to reset. All this has been wiped out. It doesn't matter anymore, right? These people are gone. They're out the market. Everyone lost. No one's happy, right? So the next cycle begins, okay? We start pushing up again. We start pushing up and, we have a bit of a battle again. So all you're trying to look for is these areas where you expect take profits to be hit, right? And boom, this is the next area we already marked out earlier where we expect take profits to be hit around that kind of area. And again, we get this spike in volume, right? Of all these buyers who must have bought, earlier on somewhere, wherever, right? These guys getting out the market, take profits have been hit. Great, okay? And again, this is another trade I took in real time on the live. I think I shorted it like here. And then again, I got out, I think I got out around here somewhere, right? Again, so I made another... a little bit of a trade here, right? Let me just get my pen. It's these guys who are trapped, right? These are all take profits. They're not real buyers. You can ignore them, right? Let's just take profits. These guys right here, these are the new fresh buyers trying to get in, trying to get this market up. They're now trapped. Sellers come in, real sellers. That's why I jumped in, right? And they're pushing the market down. A shit ton of buyers came in. I remember in the live, actually, I might even play the clip if I can find it today, right? I remember saying, "Oh, this is dangerous." So many buyers came in, and then we actually, this was really cool to see in real time. In fact, I will play the clip. I will kind of show you parts of the clip, the top there as well. Let's see if they get. Oh, look at that! What happened there? Damn, they came in aggressively. Oof. Yeah, I'm not fucking with that. I think I'm gonna get the hell out potentially. Actually, well, let's see. We know those are fresh buyers. If they can't push it up, then we can flood down. So actually, I'm gonna hold it. Because if these buyers, these people are vulnerable as hell right now, right? If they fail, oh, this is gonna be good. So I'm not getting out just yet, actually. I'm gonna hold it. Oh, they looks like they're failing. They actually failed. Holy shit, I did not expect all that volume to fail. Oh my. I mean, they could come back in and keep this market up, but I am surprised those buyers failed. Let's see if where they're going to get stopped out. I mean, let's try and figure this out, right? Where their stops going to be. Still below those lows are going to have a lot of stops, and we could probably see them in the footprint if they are actually going to get stopped out. Ah, move. Holy. Now we don't want to release those buyers, so I don't want to really get into that buy area again. This is kind of a bit dangerous. But I guarantee you, whoever this person was, they were sweating for a few few minutes. They almost got humbled. Almost got humbled. They're not probably taking. Yeah, you can see them now getting out. Those buyers there, they're trailing now, and they're out the market. You literally just saw that, right? As it went above, they put their stops back to break even. They're like, "Nah, I'm not risking that shit again." Of it going down, and they just got stopped out at their entry. So they're out the market now. But for a few minutes, these guys here were shitting their pants. I'm telling you that. Because that could have gone really sour for them. But now that they're out the market, look how easy the market can flood a little bit, right? And we were hoping they were getting out the market here. Because if they got out the market a bit lower down, we would have had that movement down and really got a nice move. But unfortunately, they held on, they propped it up a bit more, and they got out basically at break even without a loss. So, what can we do? Of the live, as I was breaking this down, but essentially, a bunch of buyers, actually real buyers, came in here, right? And it started going against them, but they put in so much volume, they started getting a bit hesitant, right? As it was going against them, they were fighting and adding more buy contracts to try to get this market up. They were getting really aggressive because they weren't ready to get stopped out. And you could probably imagine their stop probably wasn't far away, right? Their stop may have been around here somewhere, maybe below that candle. But either way, their stop was getting very close to getting stopped out, right? But they were fighting on for dear life because this was one big institution that jumped in, right? Okay, all at once, right? They were trying to buy the dip, and the market slipped below them. Sellers actually managed to get below them, and they started panicking, and they were coming in so aggressively. And you could see the sellers really trying to squeeze them out the market. Because if these guys got squeezed out, oh, that would have been a good move, right? We would have really, pushed down quite hard. But unfortunately, they got just a little bit too much pressure. They came back in, right? They kept coming back in. They kept coming back in. And then, the market went above their entry. If you imagine this is their entry, right? I mean, the entry, the average price would be around the middle here, okay? We went above them, and you could see they most likely put their stop losses. They weren't going to allow to, potentially get stopped out where original stop. You can see that their stop loss, they moved their stop loss to be at their entry. Because the moment they went into profit, they didn't get out the market, but they moved their stop to break even, And then this candle occurred and basically stopped them out, because look at all that volume that appeared on the same areas of where they entered. They got stopped out at break even, and then they were out the market. So it was really interesting seeing that in real time. Again, we just got a bunch of buyers and sellers fighting it out, and eventually the sellers do take over, right? Okay. And I think the next trade I took was actually this. I bought it. I believe I bought it right here, and I got out around here. So this was a really nice trade, right? In the live as well, I took this trade. And again, the same idea, right? If we just look at the areas of where do you think, if you shorted it in this move, right, anywhere, let's just say you got in here, where's your take profit going to be? Well, it's probably, most likely, going to be on these lows here, or maybe that low there, right, where it just sort of spiked down. But basically within that area, that's where your take profit's going to be, right? You're going to expect a lot of take profits to be in this kind of area, right? So we want to see the volume spike in that area. And remember, these are all shorts now. These are people selling, right? We want to see those sellers spike up around those kind of areas to identify that they have been essentially, that their take profit's been here. And you kind of get that again. You get the volume spiking in those areas, right? Now we know, right, these are all people taking profit here. So anything that's not below here are going to be fresh new sellers, right? And these are going to be, potentially some people getting trailed out as we kind of moved up. A lot of people, who are trailing very closely, probably getting stopped out as well. Maybe a few fresh buyers, but nothing major. And then you get this chunk of selling again occur. These are real sellers. These are people trying to, just sell because we moved up a little bit, trying to get that market back down again, for another move down. These people are now vulnerable. These are the vulnerable people. Same with these folks here, right? These are all vulnerable people. Now, this is probably some kind of 50-50 because we're just kind of within that low and we kind of took it. But then this 69 here, unfortunately it closed as plus 69. But at the time, I could probably show you the clip in real life, right? As we actually got there in real time, this was like negative, I believe it was like negative 300. Don't quote me exactly, I'll show you the clip on the live. But it went really negative very quickly and then loads of buyers came in, right? They are vulnerable. Boom. We just saw that spike. It took a second there, but you just saw that number spike up, right? To the sell side. That was a lot of profits getting triggered. So now we know a lot of sellers have got out right here. It only spiked for a second, and it was quickly absorbed by buyers. So it was hard to see, but it did spike up to I think 300. So we know any volume coming in now, right? As long as we're kind of, above that low there, we know for a fact these are fresh sellers. So if we see a lot of fresh sellers come in, fail, we've got a potential trade here. So we saw those buyers come in. I'm going to jump in already for a buy because I can have now a stop just below that if I'm wrong. Because where did the original sellers come in? The ones who have got money on the line? It's these guys here, right? So now, if we get into that area, this is where the battle is going to occur. These sellers are either going to get the hell out the market or they're going to get squeezed out. And it looks like they might get squeezed out. So we're above them. There they are getting squeezed out. Boom, boom, boom. They're out the market. Look at all their stops getting hit. But we still have stops higher up. Remember that, right? Let me just move this. That's a lot of those sellers all getting stopped out, right? But we know that there's going to be more stops above here. So we need to there's still more to clear. Do you know what I mean? Boom, stops are getting hit. See the numbers spiking up a bit, right? Now, if fresh sellers want to come in, they can push this market down. Just remember that. We're only trading the reaction, essentially. But I'm going to try and hold it to see if we can get that extension. So again, that was a lot of profit taking happening there, right? And then we, again, had fresh sellers trying to come in, again, bigger numbers, it just closed quite relatively small numbers. But in real time, you saw those numbers get a lot bigger, right? And then we had those fresh buyers come in, okay? And that's when I entered, okay? Because I know that these people are all going to be vulnerable. We want to now potentially squeeze out. We want to get above those sellers. These sellers right here. These are the guys we want to squeeze out the market right now. If we get above them, we've got a good move going, right? So I entered a bit early to try and, because I can have a really tight stop. My stop was just below here, and there's a good chance, because the buyers were very aggressive, they're going to try and take advantage of these sellers and squeeze them out, and that's exactly what they did. The moment we popped up above those sellers, look at that. Look at that volume spike up. That's not fresh new buyers. That's these sellers getting stopped out. All these guys here, all getting stopped out. Boom, 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 hit, gone, right? And then we get the fresh new buy pressure come into the market. And it's these guys now we want to make sure keep the market afloat, right? If we started dipping below these guys and we start seeing sellers come in, yeah, we'll probably want to get out of our trade, right? So we entered around here. We would want to exit like we did before earlier when we were shorting the market. The sellers didn't really at that time really extend it. They kind of failed. If these buyers failed, to get it much higher and sellers came in and we were trading below them, I would have got out like here. But in this case, luckily, they kept the market up, right? They kept coming in. Great, 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 great. And they pushed that market up. And I believe I got out. I got around here somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. But you can see it in the live. I got out somewhere here. I got out, right? But I took a really nice trade. It was a really nice move, from that 163 all the way up, to here. And then that was pretty much it. I didn't take any more trades for that day. But do you understand what I'm kind of getting across here? How to read the market like a story. Try and track who is doing what. And you only really want to track the big players, right? We don't care about, when the volume's like 3 or something. We don't care about that, right? Doesn't matter. Just ignore that. You're only looking for the big clusters of volume where it makes sense, so any areas that obviously make sense, right? Like these lows here, there's going to be people taking profit. Anyone trying to play the breakout and jump in, anyone we can identify are fresh new sellers trying to get this market down, if they start failing, we're squeezing them out, right? Everyone is seeing that's what institutions do every single day, right? They're fighting each other. And these are all institutions fighting each other. They don't care about retail traders. Retail traders, we're so small, we don't even appear, right? Like, we're not even on their radar, right? It's institutions fighting each other, essentially. And, this is a really clear-cut example because it doesn't, it's just logic, right? We know this is an area where take profits are going to get hit. We can see, the volume spiking. So yes, sellers have taken profit. Not everyone, but some sellers have, right? The market kind of pushes up a little bit, at that release of that pressure. And then this volume comes in. This volume cannot be take profits, right? It's either fresh new sellers or sellers taking profit, right? Or buyers getting stopped out. But it's not going to be buyers getting stopped out because it doesn't make any sense. Where do they buy, right? Where are the buyers? I mean, technically you've got a few buyers here. You could argue there's going to be a few real buyers there, but the majority are probably more likely some of these sellers getting stopped out during trailing. Even if they are fresh buyers, would they get stopped out at the top? It doesn't make any sense, right? If you entered here, why would you get stopped out up here? That doesn't make any sense, right? We know those are fresh sellers. We can identify clear as day, these are people, when I say people, but it happens in one kind of like big chunk, that's an institution selling aggressively. They have now shown their cards to the whole world, to everyone who's trading, to every other institution, every algorithm, you name it, right? Are now got their eyes locked on these guys, right? They've placed their, cards on the table. Everyone is watching. more people coming in, more sellers trying to get into the market. Everyone is watching these guys here, and boom, we take advantage of them, squeeze them out the market, they get stopped out, fresh buyers come in and get that market up, right? Until that cycle continues and it continues and it continues and it repeats. So don't just chase high volume. That's the worst thing you can do when you're trading order flow, right? If you just chase high volume, you're going to get eaten up, because you don't know if you're chasing people who are exiting the market, people entering the market. You don't know what the hell you're chasing, right? You only want to chase volume where it makes sense. Does that make sense? Right? Now, you could have asked, well, Sam, why didn't we short it here? Well, we could have shorted it here. Don't get me wrong. Right? You know those are fresh, big institutional sellers getting in. You can absolutely short it here. Right? And there will be times you might, you might be on the wrong side of the market because you've sided with one institution that you saw and you thought they're doing well and they get stopped out. Happens all the time. These guys got stopped out. It's an institutional seller, but they lost. No big deal, right? You lose as well. Institutions lose all the time, right? But the reason I don't just chase the first people who jump in the market like these sellers, I would rather always, and it comes back to what I said earlier, right? You want action in the market. You want people to be forced to take action, right? These sellers will be forced to take action if they go into drawdown, right? They can't hold this trade forever. Now, don't get me wrong. Some sellers, some buyers, some people in the market, they might be a bit more stubborn, right? They might have their stops further up, or they might, if they go into drawdown, they might double down and try to get that market even more aggressively back down again, like we had earlier, right, with that buyer. But a lot of the time, if it doesn't work out for them and they saw, oh, yeah, I'm up against someone quite big here, this candle's very strong, there's a lot of volume coming in, they're just going to get stopped out. Because look, it's not a big stop for them, right? They only lost a few points. It's not the end of the world, right? But I would rather be against and kind of anyone who's vulnerable in the market, who shows their cards, has got too much skin in the game. I would rather be on the side to try and squeeze them out, because if we're successful, and a lot of time we are, action is forced, right? They're forced to take action. They exit the market. You get a big chunk of buy volume, and everyone and his dog has spotted that, and they all jump on the train. They all right, let's get in, let's buy. And that seller's not going to come back in until higher up, maybe at a better price, or maybe they even flip. You don't know. They might even, this seller, for all you know, this 112 could be these sellers here flipping and saying, all right, fine, let's go up. You don't know, right? We don't know who's actually buying and selling, but either way, I would rather be, pain moves the market. This is my point, okay? Pain is the emotion that moves the market. If someone is in pain and it's against them and they're getting nervous and, this is bad, I'm in drawdown, they're forced to take action. That moves the market. So always try and identify who's in pain, who's actually vulnerable in this market, right? And who is, getting out the market. We know that's take profits, right? We know that's some people getting stopped out if they're trailing. These people are the fresh, new sellers. Same with these guys here. They're the ones who are going to be uncomfortable. At the bottom here, there were some, we saw the numbers, especially on this 37 in real time, we saw that number go up, and we know there was a lot of absorption happening there. There was buyers coming in, and those buyers popped up above them, and that's why I entered very quickly, because I saw the aggression on the buyers. They spotted these sellers. They're going to take them out. And I joined them, and boom, we went up, and it was a lovely trade. But it happens all the time. Constantly this happens, day in, day out. It's like a cycle, especially on the 1 minute chart. Constantly, boom, boom, boom. It's just a constant battle, right? And you just need to keep reading it, read it correctly, and it all starts making sense, right? And then you know when to get in and when to get out and all that good stuff. But that is essentially how to read the footprint. Obviously, there's a lot more other things you can do with the footprint. There's so many other different theories and whatnot, but that is how I do it. I like to put context to the numbers, try to use it, try to read it like a story so I can understand exactly what's going on and make my decisions based on that. But if you would like to join the live streams, they're live. I'm live every, Monday to Friday, every trading day on this channel, 9:30 Eastern time. That's 9:30 a.m. of course, Eastern Standard Time, so New York time. I go live every single day on this channel. If you would like to join, watch me trade live, interact, all that. We've got a lovely, community of people who join every single day. Really, really cool people. It's a great chat, and I'm sure you will enjoy tuning in. So if you have a bit of time around that, around 9:30, I'm usually on for like an hour, 2 hours a day. Hop in by, pop by, say hello, and join the live stream. It'll be awesome to see you. But apart from that, thank you all for watching. Do hit that subscribe button for more videos, turn on channel notifications, do all that good stuff, blah, 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 blah. You all know it. But apart from that, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.